If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get the latest updates.
Let us start. Thanks everyone for joining. Good morning or good evening. So today will be the introduction to SAP S4 HANA. So first session, start with the abbreviation of the SAP S4 HANA. So as you guys already know, SAP is systems analysis and program development, right? So HANA stands for, HANA is a database. It's an in-memory database. It brings a lot of functionalities of columnar storage, real-time processing, like that. But basically, HANA is a database. HANA stands for High Performance Analytical Appliance. So if you club these letters, highlighted letters, it will come as HANA. Okay. And then SAP S4 HANA stands for SAP Business Suite for HANA. So this S stands for Business Suite. So Business Suite is nothing but the system ERP system. So Business Suite basically contains some multiple systems apart from ERP, SRM, CRM, SCM, all these including. It's called Business Suite. So SAP Business Suite for HANA. Okay. So there is this is the most popular version for S4 HANA, but there is another version also. So S stands for simple and 4 stands for fourth generation. So this is the major fourth generation technology in SAP family. So it started with R1, R2 and R3, and then HANA is the fourth generation. So to represent that fourth generation symbolically, and also SAP tried to mimic their previous versions, R3. So in R3, R stands for real time, and 3 stands for 3-tier architecture. So some similar kind of version they want to bring, seems so that's why they named it as S4 HANA. So S stands for simple because S4 HANA brings up a lot of simplifications, also called as innovations. And HANA is a database, and if we put all these two together, then it will become S4 HANA. So that is the abbreviation of S4 HANA. Okay. Right. So what is SAP HANA? So SAP HANA is an in-memory database technology, and also it is a columnar database. The traditional database is a stored data as a row basis. But HANA supports both row-based and column-based storage, and the innovative architecture of HANA allows both OLTP and OLAP. OLTP stands for Online Transactional Processing. So that means the ERP systems that write, modify those operations, the data processing operations that we call transaction processing. Analytical processing means the only read operations will happen like in the BW system. All the analysis happens in the BW system, right? That is BW warehouse systems are called as OLAP. So, and the features of innovative architecture of SAP HANA allows the data storing, retrieving, processing, and analyzing 10 times faster, and also the efficient storage of HANA is much better than the traditional databases. In addition to this, HANA uses the main memory efficiently, right? And it leaves significantly less data footprint than the traditional system. It also uses the data compression techniques, which further reduces the data footprint. Okay, and the in-memory technology and columnar database storage allows SAP HANA for the real-time data analysis. Okay. So this is the one of the advantages of SAP HANA technology. Okay. So it reduces the time-consuming tasks, and it uses machine learning, all the advanced technologies. Okay. So these are the few features of HANA. We will further drill down into those features in the next slides. So you'll understand the difference between the high level. Okay, so when we go into the finance module, again we will discuss what are the differences between ECC and S4 HANA, but at the high level and the system architecture level. So ECC stands for ERP Central Component. It is the SAP's previous version, right? So and then it uses the three tiers architecture, which was called as R3. Right. And then as for HANA, as we discussed, is a business suite for HANA, a fourth generation system. And then as for HANA versions, as I mentioned yesterday also, there are two platform S4 HANA offers. One is the on-premise and cloud version. But when it comes to the functionality wise, line of businesses, coverage and everything, it is similar in both on-premise and cloud version. And HANA, what is the meaning of on-premise? So on-premise means the servers are located in the company's premises. So the customer or client is responsible for maintaining those servers. SAP releases the innovation cycles annually for the on-premise versions. For the cloud versions, the innovation cycles are quarterly basis. So cloud means the servers are hosted on the SAP domain. So there are two types of cloud version, private cloud and public cloud. Public cloud means it is a multi-tenant. So the servers are shared with other clients. Okay. But in case of private cloud, that is single tenant. So it is only exclusively for one single client. Okay. So until 2019, the naming version includes the year of release and month of release. So for example, 1909 means this version was released in September 2019. Okay. And then SAP revised the naming convention in 2020. So going forward, for the on-premise versions, the naming convention includes only the year. It does not include the month. But this old naming convention of year and month for the cloud version will continue. So these are the SAP HANA S4 HANA versions. The first version was released in it was released in 2014, and it is called Simple Finance 1.0. So in this version, the only innovations made were on the finance module. So all the remaining versions, SDMM, all modules still use the old data structures only. And then SAP released another version in 2015 March. So that was initially called as Simple Finance 2.0. Later, it has been renamed to 1503. So when this new naming convention was started, right? So in 2015 November, the first full suite version was started. So that means all the innovations, all the simplifications were made in all the modules, not only finance, the simple logistics, simple sales, simple HR. So in all the versions, all simplifications have been introduced in this version. Then the naming convention was also changed. So it started including the year and month. Okay. And then there was one more version released in May 2016. That was only for a finance module 1605. And then every year one release from 2016 October, 1610, 1709, 1809, like this until now, one annual major release every year. And for cloud version, so one release for every quarter. So in yearly release, it includes all the features of its previous version. That means if you take the example of 2021, it includes all the features that were included in 2020, plus the additional features that were introduced between these two releases. So thus the latest version includes all the features up to date. So these are on-premise versions. So apart from the yearly releases, SAP also provides several updates for each version per year. So like the feature pack stacks, these are called FPS for the new features, and SPS support pack stacks for the bug fixes. Like if any issue happen for a transaction or any report in any version, okay, so if we complain to the SAP, so they will look into the issue and fix those issues, and they will release the SAP notes. Okay, so if we implement those SAP notes, the issue will be resolved only for that particular issue. But in SPS, they will club such kind of bug fixes. So the maybe across the modules, right? So then they will release this SPSs. So if we implement these support pack stacks, so those existing issues will be resolved. So then NetWeaver version. So SAP S4 HANA uses the NetWeaver, which is an underlying technology. It also stored in the application layer. Okay. So it is used for the custom development and integration with other applications, like all the back coding, all the aggregations. All those things will be stored in the NetWeaver version. So this NetWeaver version also needs to be updated frequently. So the current version is 7.54, but it is mostly on the technical stuff that we don't need to worry. Right. So Fury version, Fury is the intuitive user interface. Okay. So earlier we used to use SAP login pad for login. That still works. Login pad is still there, but for users they mainly use the Fury for their day-to-day transactions. So first Fury version was introduced in 2013, and then SAP Blue Crystal version was introduced in 2015, and then in 2016 SAP Belize Deep version was introduced, and then in 2019 Fury 3 version, which had a very good looking Fury app, SAP Quartz light and dark themes have been introduced. Right. So there are two things. So one is the business. People always get confused with the terminology. One is the business suite on HANA, and second is business suite for HANA. So both are not same. The business suite on HANA, it includes only the HANA database on the old ERP system. So it will not bring any innovative features of S4 HANA in those versions. That means instead of using the other databases, the client might have used the HANA database. That's it. But the naming business suite for HANA means that includes all the simplifications, all the innovations of HANA in this version. So S4 HANA Enterprise Management includes all the modules, finance, procurement, HR, sales, and everything. And it smoothly integrates with SAP's cloud applications. SAP has cloud applications like the Concur, Ariba, Fieldglass, Hybris. So Concur application is for the travel management. So for the employees, if there are any travel related expenses, they can submit their bills for the reimbursements. So Concur seamlessly integrates with S4 HANA. And then Ariba is for the indirect procurement. So where the users can.
1 second, Pawan.
Yeah.
First one is business suite on HANA. That means old SAP system, but the HANA database, right?
Right.
And this, what is the other name?
Business suite for HANA. So this is actually the S4 HANA means this one, business suite for HANA.
Oh, 4 it should be. Oh.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And Concur is done. Then Ariba. Ariba is for the indirect procurement, where the employees or users can search for their like the stationery, or they can set the catalogs and then order the required materials. Okay, it also integrated with the SAP, and it creates the purchase orders and all those things. Right? And then field glass is for the it is for the vendor management, for external services, for external vendor management. SAP SuccessFactors is the HR module, and then Hybris is the e-commerce platform. So all these are the cloud applications. They all integrate with the SAP. So either on-premise or cloud. So it integrates with both. Right. So when it comes to the HANA features, so there are a few which we need to understand these things. So there are so many. If we go in depth, there are a lot of features, but all those are technical, we will not be able to understand. But these are the important features we must understand. So to know the difference between the old databases and the HANA database. So it is first thing is the in-memory storage, columnar data storage, and it helps the high data compression, parallel execution, and delta store and merge. Okay, we'll first see what is in-memory database. Okay. So in old traditional databases, the data is stored in the disks, the hard disk. Okay, so when an application requests for data, so the data will be retrieved from the database and then retrieved in the main memory. And then it will be passed on to the processor. Okay, so when the data in the main memory will be indisplaceable, whenever new request comes from the applications, the old data will be removed and new data will come into the main memory. Right, so there will be constant swapping happens. So there, because of this, there will be a bottleneck happens. The input output of the disk will not process the data so costly. So this is the main drawback of the traditional database. But because of the latest technologies and hardware also become very cheaper nowadays, so SAP wanted to take advantage of all the existing technology and introduce this in-memory technology. So in-memory database, the data will be stored in the main memory only. Okay, so whenever a process request comes, instead of picking the data from the hard disk, it will fetch the data from main memory, so that the data processing will be very fast. Okay. So to understand, I know all of you are from the computer background, you have a basic knowledge on the computers. Okay. So to understand it easily, we go back to the basics, right? So for example, if we are buying a laptop, okay, so what are the features that we see? So we see what is the processor, it is i5 or i7, what is the RAM, and then hard disk size, right? For example, if an i7 processor with a 4 GB RAM and 1 TB hard disk, okay, and same case on the second laptop has a i7 processor, but this time it has a 8 GB RAM and then same 1 TB. So almost everything same except the RAM, right? So RAM is double on the second laptop. So you guys tell me which one will be faster.
The one with 8 GB?
Right. So the one with 8 GB will be faster because it has more memory. So it can store the more memory than the 4 GB RAM. Okay. So there is the advantage, right? So simply in the same lines, the HANA database also uses the more in memory. Instead of storing the data in the hard disks, it deploys more processors. Okay. So because the storing the data in the main memory, it allows for the parallel execution, and also it helps for the columnar data storage. Right. How SAP manages these things. So if it is not possible to keep all the data in the main memory. So SAP claims that it stores the data in main memory, which is true, but there are different types of data. Okay. So frequently accessed data and infrequently accessed data. So as per the data pattern analysis, okay, there would be around 85% of the data that is not frequently accessed. Okay, so that data will store in the hard disks. In SAP terminology, it is called warm data. And then the data that is frequently accessed will store in the main memory, that is called hard data. Okay, and so when any requests come for the data that is already there in the main memory, right? So it will be easy and faster to retrieve that data. Okay. And there is also, so what about the other 85% of the data? So somehow the users will sometimes will retrieve or will require that data also, right? So what happens in those cases? So there is a persistent layer. So it comes with the HANA database inbuilt. It is not a separate component. It is part of the HANA database. This persistent layer helps and it creates an area to remove the data when the main memory is full. So it will help to clear the data. And also in case of power failures, it stores the data. Okay, it helps in two ways. And whenever any new data, all data stored in the persistent layer, right? The data which is not available in main memory, this persistent layer helps to immediately push the data into the main memory.
Which is like backup.
Yeah. One more. This slide or previous one?
No. I was you were saying that previous slide, right? So that persistence layer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this layer would help for backup of the data, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And it is maintained by HANA only.
Yes, it's part of it.
Okay.
Mostly all these are technical, so basis team would have the more knowledge on this one, but it is good, nice to have at least high level overview.
Okay. Thank you.
This process is called dynamic tiering. The next one is columnar data storage, one of the biggest features of S4 HANA. See, any table is the two-dimensional, right? So it contains the rows and columns. So this is visually, this is how the data looks like when we see any reports. This is how the system present the data to us. Okay, but in the back end, so computer's memory stores this data in a linear sequence. Right. So, for example, in case of row-based storage, it will store the first row. So this is also called as a block. Like if you see, it will store the complete row, and then the second row starts, and again third row, like that. So it stores each block wise. Okay, in case of row-based storage. But in case of column-based storage, it stores one block with the columns. It stores the first column and then stores the second column. So like this, it stores every table. But for visually to understand, so this is how I have shown, but really how the data looks like will be very different in the database. So it stores like this. In case of row-based storage. In case of column-based storage, it stores all the columns together. Next column, like this. So in the computer memory, in the backend, this is how the data is stored. So then what is the difference? So why the columnar storage is more efficient than the row-based storage? So both have its their own advantages and disadvantages. So for example, when any read operation happens, so I want to pull a record for this customer mark. Okay. Then when the this read operation happens on the row-based storage, system will read like this. So through the complete first block, so it has identified the record that we are looking for at this level and in the fifth record. So for example, if it takes 1 second to read the first block and it takes 5 seconds to retrieve the required data, right? So imagine the same thing on the columnar data storage. So it will read the first column, right? So when we do the operation on a particular column, it will straight away go to that particular column and it does the read operation in one single read itself. Okay. So it takes 1 second to read this column and then it identifies this customer. So if we compare in row-based, it took 5 seconds, but in columnar data storage, it took only 1 second. So there is a drastic reduction of the time. That's how this columnar storage helps. Mainly, the columnar data storage helps for the read operations, and the row-based storage is efficient for the transaction processing for the write operations. But SAP has overcome those drawbacks of the row storage also. So the write operations on the row based are more efficient, and the write operations on the column based storage are very costly. Okay. So SAP has come up some concept called delta and merge to overcome this issue. So when any new record happens, for example, we have included one more row, right? So sixth row. So system adds the new record at the end in one go. So it has included this one. Okay. But in case of or maybe we thought like this, right? So in the backend, it stores the data like this. When any new record comes, it will append that new record at the end of the record. Okay. So then it is easy. So when in one operation, it has included the complete row. But in case of column operations, in case of write operation on the column data storage, So it has to include the new record at each level. Yeah. So inserting the records in between the data is more costlier than the raw data. Okay, so this is the disadvantage of write operations or insert operations in case of a columnar database. Columnar database is more efficient for the read operations or for analytical purpose, that is the OLAP, online analytical processing, is more efficient. So raw data storage is more efficient for the write operations, that means OLTP. But S4HANA supports both the row-based and column-based storage. So we'll see in the next section how SAP overcomes this disadvantage of inserting operations. So as we discussed conceptually, it is a two-dimensional structure, but in the backend, it stores in the linear sequence. And the advantage of columnar database is higher data compression rates, and the performance will be very high on the column operations compared to the row operations. It eliminates the additional indexes and it eliminates the aggregate tables, and it helps for the parallelization. So all these are the many advantages which are not available in the row-based storage. That's why SAP has adopted this approach of column-based storage. Yeah.
1 second, will you go back to the previous slide, if you don't mind?
Okay.
Yeah, so the heading is columnar data storage, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So is it for both row-based and column-based? It's called like that?
No. So the SAP S4HANA uses the columnar data storage, but for explanation purpose, the difference between the row-based and column-based, I have shown these pictures, but it stores the columnar data. But HANA supports both row-based and column-based, but it is how the tables are created. So while creating the tables, we have to define which type of data storage that table will be used. In the traditional database, it allows only row-based storage. So, but in HANA, we have both.
Okay, both options are there, but it depends on what they use, right?
Yeah. Mostly. Okay. So we'll use, at least for the finance side data, we'll use the columnar data storage.
Yeah, Pruvan, Isidore here. One quick question. You mentioned something about eliminating the aggregate table between the column and the row-based storage. Can you explain that one more time, please?
Yeah, so columnar data storage eliminates the aggregates, okay, and it also eliminates the indexes. So what does it mean is in the traditional database, we have data redundancies. Anyhow, we will discuss when we come to the finance data model. So index tables means there will be some key fields. So if we do the operations or sets operations on a key fields, the data will be faster. Okay. But in the raw database storage, there will be very few key fields. If we try to do any operation on the non-key fields, it takes a hell lot of time. Okay. So to avoid those issues, so SAP creates the index tables based on the frequently used fields. Okay. So for each table, if we check, we will find the index tables. Let me log into ECC, then we'll see what are the. So for example, BSIS, BSAS, BSAD, BSID, all these are secondary index tables. So the data is stored in the BSEC and also the data is stored in the index tables. To go here, you will find the index tables here. So SAP has given few fields: company code, document number, fiscal year, line item number. So if we try to retrieve the data based on these 4 fields, then the data will be faster. But in a table, there will be several other fields, right? If we use, like for example, this assignment number, the posting date. If we use any non-key fields, then or non-index fields, the data will take a lot of time to fetch the data. Okay. So that's why in the traditional old systems, old ECC, I'm showing you the old ECC. Okay. So data takes a lot of time. So these index, there is no necessity for these index tables because the column storage itself is an index. Because if we want to set the data on a particular column, right, we do not require any index because this column itself is created as an index. And then comes to the aggregate tables. Okay, so there will be some averages or some of the amounts, all those kind of calculations needs to happen, right? So because there will be billions of records that are stored in the database, it will be difficult to do all those aggregations during the runtime. So, and it will drastically increases the performance. So to avoid those things, SAP has created aggregate tables like FAGL, LexT, or GLT0, KNC1 and the vendor records, the total records. All these are called aggregate tables. Okay, so here the data will be summed up for each period. So pre-defined aggregates will be available in these aggregate tables. So now with the S4 HANA technology, HANA efficiently uses the on-fly calculation. Whatever the calculation that we performed using the aggregate tables earlier in the old SAP system, now all these calculations will happen on the fly during the runtime. So that's why we do not require these two, which is the main advantage of columnar data storage. Okay.
Pawan Ram here. Good morning. Good
Hey,
evening. Out of the box, does it come with only columnar or it's a mix?
Which one? Sorry.
Out of the box when we implement without any customizations.
Columnar only. In the specifically, if you want any raw data, then those tables should be designed for the raw. Yeah.
So only when customization is required.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Since I have opened the system, I will also show you the S4 HANA system. To check which version we are using. Okay, so this is the SAP Easy Access screen. Again, we will show you how to navigate these things when we come to the those topics. Okay, so but first to identify which version we are using. Once you open the system, click on System, click on Status. Okay, and now go to the SAP system data. Under this, you will find the product version. So here also, if you go down, you will see the database system. It is HDB, that means HANA database. If I go to the ERP system, so this is old ERP, I mean ECC, okay. You see the database is Linux. So this can be any database. In this system, they have used Linux, but if you check other systems, so they might be Oracle, SQL, so different data, Microsoft, different databases would be there.
Pawan, I have one question.
Yeah.
Even for the old systems, they use the HANA database, right?
Yeah, it is
So
possible. Yeah.
for ECC, then the database system will be HPD
Yeah.
only.
Yeah, in that case, the HANA operator, no, sorry, the database, sorry, I have to see this one. The database will be Sybase here. The clients who are using the ERP system, but they are using the HANA database, they will have HDB in the database.
I don't
Okay.
get that. For example, if they are using ECC and HANA database, it is not S4 HANA, right? So in that case, what we will see here?
We will see HDB only. So there are two aspects. HANA database only, which I mentioned, right? Business Suite on HANA. So that means the underlying database is HANA, but the client is using the old ERP.
Pawan, actually, I just want to clarify your doubt. So the thing is, so if we are in ECC platform, so we can use a HANA database,
Yes, we can use
I
HANA
mean,
database.
like ECC 644.
Right.
instead
It
of
is
HANA
not
version.
mandatory. Yeah, it is not mandatory, but ECC works with any database. Not only HANA, it works with Sybase, Oracle, Linux, SQL. So ECC works with any database, but S4 HANA works with HANA database only.
Okay.
So
I
if we
think-
see,
Sorry, go on.
yeah, if we see HDB,
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be
Yeah. So
S4,
then you have to,
right?
if you have any doubt, if you see HDB, and if you have a doubt whether that is really S4 HANA or not, you go to the product version. You come product version, go to install product version, and you can see here. You will find the S4 HANA. But here I don't find. Here it is. It is EHP8 for SAP ERP 6.0. It is on the SAP ERP 6.0 with enhancement pack 8. But if you go to the S4 HANA system, so in S4 HANA system, compulsorily the database should be HDB HANA database. And then we check the product version, we install product versions. Then you will see S4 HANA on-premise 2021 release. So this is how we can differentiate or identify whether the system is S4 HANA or not. Okay, clear?
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
So this is one thing, and then when we come to the install software, there will be several components. So you would see the S4 core, and in case of ECC, it will be SAP_APPL, where mainly our finance applications are stored. SAP APPL, logistics and accounting. In case of S4 HANA, it should be, we should have S4 core. Okay.
So I have one clarification, Pawan. So like in the
Yeah.
past, the ECC system used to have database in like in other they used to have their own in-house database as well, other than SAP, correct?
Right, yes.
Okay.
Like I have shown here, it used Sybase. So it will be any database.
Okay.
It can be any database on ECC.
Pawan, I have a question.
Yeah.
is this anyway related to central finance? Like, was this flexibility required to bring in central finance, or it's different totally?
Yeah. So central finance is also an S4 HANA system. If the client is having central finance, means that he is on S4 HANA. Okay. So, but there will be a separate license, and we have to add a few business, some SAP nodes to bring those as central finance functionalities. SLT, system landscape transformation, and all those things should be implemented.
Thank you.
Can I ask one more question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, please.
Pawan. So I just want to clarify, the old systems like ECC or the lower versions can use any database as well as HANA database, but S4 definitely the HANA database. Is that true?
Correct.
Thank you.
That is true. And in ECC case, even if you are using HANA database, you will not have all these innovations.
Okay.
So the data structure will remain same. You will see the old tables, everything will be old. So we will get all these innovations only in S4 HANA. So for S4 HANA, HANA is mandatory. Okay. All right. So next we'll go on to the next advantage of this HANA database. The data.
One last question from my side. Sorry.
Yeah, please.
So if we would not have big data in picture, then we would have never come across all these developments. Am I right?
I didn't get your question.
Like we had big data coming, so other ERPs were more better, I thought, compared to SAP, because SAP was using Oracle and was using it externally, right? It was not an
Right.
database. So if not for big data, then probably we would not have all these developments, right? Because that's where the in-memory technology and all that comes across.
Correct. Yeah. No, but eventually SAP is stopping its support. If the old clients won't upgrade to HANA, so it's up to their risk. They can continue. If they have any issues with their system, SAP is not going to help. So mandatorily by 2025, as of now, all the clients should upgrade to S4 HANA.
Yeah. Thank you.
So data compression, it is another advantage of S4 HANA. It reduces the data footprint drastically. So with one simple example, so here we have the country, product, and sales, right? So instead of storing the exact values in the database, it will convert the values into the integers. Okay, so like it creates a dictionary table internally for the compression. So it assigns continuous values, like 1 for United States, 2 for France, 3 for New Zealand, 4 for United Kingdom. Like this, if a number of entries, unique names are there, it will assign those continuous numbers to all those values. But wherever in the compressor columns, the data will be stored like this instead of the actual value. Wherever the United States comes, it is updating 1. And in the 4th record, we see United States, and again 6th. So instead of the actual value, it is updating the value ID. Okay, so it happens for each column. So the data compression happens for each column. So, and again, if the data compression to utilize it efficiently, it works in the columnar data storage only. And what is the advantage of using this data compression? So at the same time, S4 HANA ensures the data quality as well. Okay? If in case of non-compressor storage, you would see the total bytes taken is 71. Okay. And in case of compressed columns, the total bytes is 28. So it's a small table with 7 rows and 4 columns. It has reduced the data footprint by more than around, I guess, 65–70%, right? So imagine the same data compression level on the billions of records, right? For each table, we would store some millions of records every day across all the modules. Then you can imagine the huge reduction in the data footprint. It saves a lot of database storage here. So first thing, it reduces the amount of memory required also, and it speeds up the operations on the columns. So because the columns can be loaded into the CPU caches faster and with the fewer loading cycles, and it also speeds up the operations on the columns, okay, because of comparison on the integer value. Now it stores the values in the integers rather than the strings, right? So the value comparison is much more faster than the string comparison. So the next advantage is the parallel processing. So it uses the multiple CPU cores, which helps for the parallelization, which is another big advantages of a faster processing of the data in S/4HANA. So there will be so with the advanced technology, we can deploy as many processors we want, right? So in those who does not know what is the core, as it is a computer terminology, right? A core, we have the processor and the RAM, right? RAM is also called memory, okay? And then we have hard disk. The main data is stored in the hard disk, and this RAM helps to store some data in that main memory and helps for the processing of the data, right? So this core is also called execution engine. It is also called as the heart of every processor, right? And the core is designed to process the instructions and the data according to the software commands in the computer memory. Okay, and again we have the caches. So these are relatively small areas in the memory. So the caches returns the frequently used instructions. They make the content readily available to the core without the need to access the system memory. Okay. So the processor first checks the cache. If the required content is available, then it takes the data from the core. If the data is not available in the cache, and then so it will access the system memory. Okay, so since we are storing the data in memory, so it also saves the time. Okay, and with the parallel processing, since we are using multiple cores, so the data will be spread across multiple cores, so that if this table takes some 5 minutes, right, to store the data, if we use multiple cores, it can be stored or processed within 1 second. And this can be further divided. So into the row also, some of the records can be, this multiple core processing can be done on the column level, on the row level also. It can be further divided. So by deploying the multiple cores, so the parallel processing happens very fastly. So again, so it helps to increase so the HANA database is scalable. So we can deploy the processors as many as we want. But again, so there are we need to do the sizing requirements, right? Basis team and the administration team takes care of those things. So we cannot deploy a number of processors. So there is also some calculation based on the data that we receive, and all those analysis will be done. So based on the sizing requirements, So the team decides how many processors or cores we required. So this is another big advantage of parallel processing. Yeah, so the next thing, delta store. Right. Initially I mentioned, right? So column storage is works efficiently in case of read operations, but in case of write operations, like any record is created or any record is changed, right? Write or modifications, it will be costly when compared to the row database. Okay, so to overcome those disadvantages, what it will do is, so data will be stored in the main, and for the write operations, it will not store the data in the main memory, because in the main memory, the data is stored in the compression format. Okay, for the write operations, it will not, it is not possible to store, to compress the data and store in the main memory. Okay, so what it will do is it will do the basic compression for the write operations. Instead of storing them in the main memory, so it will store in the delta storage. Okay. So, but in case of any read operations happen at the same time, right, then it will be a problem. So how the system is designed is, for in case of read operations, so system will check both the main storage and delta storage. Okay, because some records are there, some recently created records will be available in delta. So that's why read operations should be done on the both storages. Okay, and we cannot keep the data continuously in the delta storage, right? It has to be updated into the main storage. Okay, so during system will do the merge operations, merging of the delta storage into the main storage. Okay. So then system creates a second main storage and also second delta storage, while the merging of operations happen, right, for the first main storage and first delta storage. So in between, if there are any read operations happens, system will do the read operations on main 1 storage, delta 1 storage, and delta 2 storage. Okay, and then once the merging is completed, then the old storage, the main 1 storage and delta 1 storage will be deleted, and then main 2 storage and delta 2 storage will remain. So this process will continue. Again, it will merge this main 2 and delta 2 storage, and it will create further deltas. Okay, so this is how the delta data will be any new data for write operations will be handled in this way. Okay, this in this way it speeds up the write operations also. As we discussed the advantages of row based storage, the write operations are efficiently works, right? So to overcome that disadvantage, SAP has come up with this delta storage and merge. So with this features, the write operations also work efficiently on the columnar data storage. Okay. And then, so after the delta merge operations, right, we have to remove the delta log. Okay, so this delta log helps in case of the system creates a log for all the operations on the delta storage, right? So the delta log helps in case of any events like system restart or power failures, those cases. So the delta log helps to rebuild the in-memory delta storages. Okay, and then again the delta storage will be merged into the main storage. So these are the main advantages. We have discussed about the in-memory database, columnar data storage, and data compression, and delta store and merge. Right? So,
Pawan, one question I have. So the previous one that you before this slide, So this one is completely related to columnar database, right?
Right. Yes.
So it is not about row database.
No, this is about column database only.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So because when the data stores in the columnar storage, right? So there are different things happen. So we discussed this S/4HANA supports both the OLTP and OLAP, right? OLAP means the analytical processing, which means it only does the read operations. But in OLTP does the write operations. It creates the new data and modifies the changes the existing data. So in case of write operations, this delta storage and the merge works efficiently to match the columnar data storage.
So this is mainly works for OLTP type.
Yeah. So in OLTP system only we do the write operations. In OLAP it is only analysis, right? Whatever
Yes.
the data that is available in OLTP is copied into OLTP. No, sorry, the data that is available in OLTP, data created by the OLTP system, is copied into the OLAP system for the analytical operations.
Got it.
Right. So OLTP means online transaction processing. So like our ERP systems, we create lots of data. We create the purchase orders, create the GL master, customer master, vendor master, and also we post the several documents, several transactions, right? All these transactions, the system where we do all these transactions is called OLTP. So this in the traditional databases, so it chooses the row store. Okay. But in case of OLAP, online analytical processing, which uses the columnar store table, which is used for the analytical processing. Okay. So since we have the columnar OLTP also, and its advantage of data compression and in-memory technology, so it helps the faster processing. So we don't need to have a separate system for the OLAP. The analytical processing also happens very quickly and efficiently on the S/4HANA system. So that means the S/4HANA supports both OLTP and OLAP. So these are the differences. The purpose of the data is to control and run fundamental business tasks on the OLTP. And on the OLAP, it helps the planning and problem solving. And the database operations, it helps. On the OLTP, we do the additions. That means creation of the new data, modify, delete, update, and read. And OLAP, only operation we do is the read operation. And source of data, so operational data. So OLTP is the original source of the data. The same data will be copied into the OLAP, which causes the redundancies. So examples are the operating environment like ECC, now S/4HANA, and then information system is BW for the OLAP. So next we need to discuss on the S/4HANA architecture. Right. In case of R3 in ECC, the architecture was very simple. We used to have database layer. And then it was a 3-tag structure, right? Then this is layer. And then it is presentation layer. So in database layer, so all the data is stored here. This is the database, and application layer is in the middle level where all the coding, web coding, and all the aggregate tables will stay in this layer. And the presentation layer, the user interface, the login pad which we use to log into the SAP system, right? So that is in the presentation layer. When it comes to S4 HANA, so basically the architecture would be same, the database, application layer, and presentation layer. But the technology which we are using is completely different here. So here we are using the HANA database, and then on top of that we have the CDS views. So now we are removing all the aggregates and index tables, right? So how those calculations can happen on the fly? So it's through the CDS views. So system internally and very quickly creates the CDS views on which all the aggregations can be done. And then the middle layer, so this is the NetWeaver where all the ABAP coding stores, right? We have the transactional logic, analytical logic, and enterprise search. And we have the gateway through which all the data will be passed on to the presentation layer. So in case of transactional apps, so the data passes from the database through this transaction logic and through the gateway and through the SAP Fiori. In case of analytical apps, so this passes through the analytical engine. Okay. So this is the architecture model of S4 HANA, and so these are the main features. Right. So it is good to understand the main advantage of S4 HANA because of these features. It helps to remove the redundancies, and we discussed there will not be any aggregates and on the fly calculations, and it is a simplified data model. Okay. Earlier, we used to have several redundant tables in each module. So the data into the GL module flows from different systems. We have the subledgers for accounts receivables, accounts payable, and asset accounting. But each submodule has its own data structures. Right? So in accounts receivables, we have the BSEC stores the GL data, but we have the BS ID and BS AD. In case of accounts payable, we have BS IK and BS AK. So those who do not know these tables, it is fine. Again, I will explain. But those who already have the SAP knowledge, I'm telling you. So those were a lot of redundant tables. So in those days, the technology available, so those redundant tables were required. Okay, so now all those tables have been removed and converted into the CDS views, and only one table, so that is single source of truth. It's also called universal journal AC doc here. So this table stores the data from all the submodules. Okay. And then S4 HANA helps the instant insights, and it allows for the real-time analytics and non-disruptive innovation. So non-disruptive innovation means so S4 HANA has SAP has to make sure that it does not cause any disruptions to the existing clients, those who are already using the ERP system, right? When they convert their system to S4 HANA, they might have their investments in those old systems. They might have created the old programs, the custom programs on the old system, right? So they cannot rewrite the complete code in the new system, right? Which takes a lot of efforts to rebuild those complex programs. So S4 HANA helps with the code inspector. So usually in case of read operations, it will redirect them to the CDS views. But in case of it will redirect to the new tables. But in case of write operations, so it cannot, the old programs might be directing to the old tables like BSIS or whatever the tables that have been removed. In those cases, it will redirect those write operations to the new tables. So SAP provides one code inspector. So we have to check all the custom programs, and if there are any changes required, so or we may have to convert them to the CDS views, or may have to do some small modifications so that all the write operations will be redirected to the new tables. So then we discussed VLTP and VLAP and the real-time processes. With this many advantages of faster processing, so mostly we do not require the batch processing. Earlier, if we have any, especially during the month-end close and year-end close, batch jobs were required, which take longer time to complete. Right. So nowadays, with S4 HANA, so batch jobs are still there, but those will be completed very quickly. And then intuitive user experience with the SAP Fury. It is the reimagined model, so users will experience the modern visualization of the new transactions. Right, so they use it to log into this SAP login pad. So now with the S4, they will log into the Fury apps. So which provides reimagined look and role-based and responsive. So there are different types of apps: transactional, analytical. So these are the main advantages of S4 HANA. So we'll discuss on the new features that are introduced in the S4 HANA finance module. Okay. And we will also need to discuss on the several other things like the deployment options. So we'll discuss on the deployment options and activate methodology and all those things. So, but tomorrow maybe we'll start on the different implementation methods, the greenfield, brownfield, and all those things. And if time permits, we will see some on the system. Okay. So yesterday, yeah. So I have uploaded yesterday's presentation in the assignments tab. Okay, so today also I will upload this one. Okay. Right. So any questions?
Pawan, I have one question.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm very, very new to SAP.
Yeah.
So will be like, there are two types of jobs in the future. Like, if somebody completes successfully as a consultant as well as the front-end user, right? So as a consultant, do we work directly with the database, and how depth knowledge of SQL is required? I'm really confused, like what we'll be doing.
No. For functional consultants, you do not require any technical knowledge. So we don't require the SQL knowledge at all.
Thank you. So we won't be creating tables, nothing like that, right?
No, we'll not be doing anything. So all those are technical. Even the standard tables we do not create. They come with the system only. Any custom developments, in those cases only the ABAP team will help us to create those tables.
Okay, so whatever we did today is just for understanding how internal system works, right?
Yes. So this is all the basic things. So we must have some knowledge on the S4 HANA. So once we go into the system, right, it will be easy to understand the data model.
I got it. Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
So if you can go to this training.sap.com, and then you can set with this code. So it is C_TS4F5_2021.
Yeah.
Or you can set with the other version also, 2020 or 2019 as well. So whatever the I suggest to do the latest version. Okay. And you can enroll for the certification. You need to buy the certification here. So you will be added into this certification hub, where there are two things. One is, if you see CR006, right? That means 6 attempts will be provided. Okay, if you pass the certification in one attempt, you can utilize the 5 other attempts to do the other certifications. Maybe you can do the certification in controlling or treasury, anything, even in the procurement side also. But if you do not pass in the first attempt, so your first attempt will be gone, and then you can utilize the remaining attempts. Okay, you will have up to 6, but that it is 656 Canadian dollars. You can check in your respective country, and if you are confident and you can pass within one attempt, maybe you can purchase only one attempt certification. You will be given only one attempt.
Hopefully you will give us that. Hopefully you will give us that confidence, power.
Definitely.
I'm really confused, like why the certification topic is coming after the course, right?
After the course, but I'm just explaining the process, how to check for this certification courses.
Okay. No. I'm really confused. I mean, I'll be taking certification of it. I don't know anything of SAP. So
Okay. Yeah, some are interested in taking the certifications. Okay. So you can.
Yes, I'll be going for the certification exam right after this training.
Yeah. So then you have the materials, which material that you need to go through for each topic, and you see general ledger will get at least 12% of the questions will be coming from this module. Okay, so like this. So if you open, either you can study this TS4F02, which ZaranTech will check and will get back to you, or S4F15 or S4F17.
Can you send that link in the chat, please?
Yeah, sure.
chat is disabled, right? So
No, I can.
I can still copy paste.
Pawan, if you don't mind, how did you go to this place? I mean,
It's
it takes a
training.
second
Go
for
to
you.
training.sap.com. It's not going on.
This is not related to LMS, right?
No, this is not related to LMS.
That's an SAP site.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, and for each topic, the suggested material will be different. For a general ledger, it is S4F12 and S4F13. Accounts payable, it is again S4F12, 13, 15, 17. Yeah. So overall, you need to go through 4 materials: S4F12, S4F13, S4F15, and S4F17.
What is that? Okay. S4,
Are you still
F15.
sending it in the chat?
Yes.
Or it's disabled for you as well?
No, I'm sending. I pinged already the link.
Okay. No, I don't see it in the chat.
Those are all the course names given by SAP's own training. They do their own training. So those are the course IDs of their training.
S4,
you will
Can you be
find
able
these.
to, can you be able to access these materials from the SAP site?
No. You will have to purchase the Learning Hub access, which is additional cost. Okay. So, but that is not required. I guess maybe ZaranTech can provide you those material dumps. Let me check. Okay. So if you get Learning Hub access in your company, that is well and good. You can access these materials in the Learning Hub. If not, we'll have to find other ways.
Okay.
Thanks, Pawan.
Yeah, thank you.
Hold on 1 second. I'm not able to copy. Maybe you can.
Maybe you can go to.
Yeah.
You can just search for SAP
Yeah.
training. Google SAP
Okay.
training. You'll get it. Yeah.
And then you can type with this name, or you can just do search in the Google with this name.
No, that's okay. I clicked the link. Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
bookmark.
you can click on the link and it will take you right there.
Yeah, that's what I did. Thank you.
Okay, so that's all from my side. Any questions?
So Pawan, one question.
Yeah.
So in these exams, do we have to do a practical, like log into the system and?
No. It will be multiple answer questions. The result will be shown immediately, but the certification will be sent later.
Okay, thank you.
And nowadays, SAP offers this proctored invigilation. So we don't need to go to the exam center. So we can do the certification at home in our laptop only. But SAP, once you register, SAP sends you the instructions. You may have to install a software that is called Proctor. So someone on the SAP side will be observing you. Okay. So then no other screen. We cannot open any other screen once that software is open. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Have a great evening.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to ask your questions in the comment section below, and we will reply to them at the earliest.